Laos, a tropical country in the heart of Indochina. Once known as the realm of a million elephants. Set amid mountains and surrounded by China, Thailand, Cambodia and Myanmar, Laos lay undiscovered for many years. Today, the country is gradually opening its doors, and its dreamlike royal cities, contemplative temple complexes, mysterious plains, and ethnic mountain villages are now accessible to all. The original Southeast Asia, just as in days of old, full of nature, culture, and the exotic. The capital, VietTin, originated at the point at which the first navigable section of the Mekong River joins with the Gulf of Thailand, once an important trading route to South China. Under pressure from the Burmese, King Seta Tirat moved from the former royal city of Luang Prabang and settled here. An historic and proud city, and one with a glorious past. VietTin was once a group of rural settlements, and even today contains several village-like districts, each with its own temple and traditional marketplace. Religious buildings dominate this city, whose monastery complexes, temples, hospitals, schools and meeting places have a long tradition. Wat Ho Pa Kyo was designed to be a chapel for the royal palace and once accommodated the Emerald Buddha, a sanctuary from India. When the city was conquered by the Siamese, the temple was destroyed and the sacred figure was taken to Bangkok, where it has remained until the present day. Wat Si Saket is still in use today, and its pagoda is a national monument. As though by a miracle, this splendid pagoda survived the destruction of the city by the Siamese military in 1827. Although everything is now peaceful, this was once the religious center of resistance against Siamese occupation. The combined power of the many Buddha figures was designed to protect the people. In Laos, most of the temples have an adjoining monastery, and the number of monks continues to grow, thus the temples are well cared for. Wat Si Saket is a symbol of the national pride of the people of Laos. A 15-minute walk, and there's the Wat Si Muan, a monastery complex that dates back to the foundation of the Lan Xang realm. At almost any time of day, there is a monk on hand to see to the needs of the faithful. This sanctuary is also popular with expectant mothers. Pregnant women come here as many of life's important decisions are left to the gods, along, of course, with various sacrifices. Each Buddha has its own special function, and it seems that the faithful know exactly to which of the figures they must address their concerns. And colorful images of Buddhist Hindu mythology decorate this small temple garden. A number of streets with well-preserved colonial-style buildings are a reminder that until some years ago, another nation once ruled here following Siamese occupation. At the end of the 19th century, the French began to renovate the city's most important buildings and made Vientiane the administrative capital of their new colony and gave it a French look. Buddha Park is situated by a river just a few kilometers from the city. A monk created this amazing garden in the 1950s. Giang Kuan is a sort of Laotian amusement park. It contains a collection of stone figures that feature numerous deities. Rich sponsors who wished to improve their karma supported the monk financially, and thus this city of spirits came into being. He believed that within this stone garden, the various Asian religions would be united into a single philosophy of life. Symbolically, that is. Both dance and drama have always been popular in Laos. Over the centuries, traditional dance dramas were only performed in the country's temples. Various influences united, as well as both music and dance. Court ceremonies and rural dances have each become part of traditional life. According to legend, the god Indra built the temple monastery of Wat Impeng himself, as indicated by its name. Many young student monks live here, and festive initiation rites are always a special occasion for their respective families. Following the communist takeover, any kind of religious practice was difficult. However, the government eventually recalled its Buddhist roots. The Arc de Triomphe of Paris was clearly the model for the triumphal Anusavari Gate, located at the end of the Avenue Lenjiang. The government continues to contribute funds for its completion. The roof is reminiscent of the tower of a castle with pinnacles and fire slits. The view from here is quite breathtaking. The Patuzé Park was arranged around the monument with flower beds and several water basins. Close by, there's a gateway that opens to another world, one of religious belief and centuries-old tradition. Tat Luang is Laos' national sanctuary. From time immemorial, it has been one of Vientiane's most important Buddhist places of pilgrimage. According to the writings of travelers in the 17th century, the surface of the building was then covered with 500 kilograms of gold leaf. Each year at the full moon of the last lunar month, 10,000 of the faithful meet here for the country's largest Buddhist festival. Then the holy place is transformed into a festive place for many people. A protective dam was built along the winding Mekong, and it contains a public walkway. In the afternoon, tradesmen sell fresh fruit and vegetables. And the first tiny kitchens begin to prepare for the great hordes of people who come here each evening. On the riverbanks, a number of boats await their respective dinner guests. Everything here has the atmosphere of a small town, and the temples are bigger than most of the city's other buildings. But Vientiane is poised to leap into contemporary times as it gradually emerges from its atmospheric curtain of bamboo. Now we begin our journey north into the pure Asia of bygone times, a land full of adventure where there is little tourism. Past many villages with small markets at the roadside and various temple complexes. And beyond the villages are fertile fields. It's a wonderful sight, and despite their simple lifestyle, the local people appear to be happy. After a while, the landscape becomes hilly and remote, with romantic scenery and always something new to see. Farmers are at work on the land. Everything is done manually. It's as though time has stood still. The younger members of the family also help with the work. Everyone has been laboring here since early morning in order that the work will be completed before the heat of midday. By noon, the heat of the paddy fields will be unbearable. The journey continues through the mountain landscape. But we must slow down. The road is becoming a little precarious, and there's less and less traffic. Most of Laos consists of rugged mountain areas. Only a small number of roads connect the country's few large towns. We repeatedly pass through large valleys flanked by densely wooded mountain slopes. Then sudden karst-covered mountains appear and reveal yet another captivating landscape. Nestled in between rough karst and gently undulating hills is Vang Vieng, located on the banks of the Nam Dong River. Once a place known only by a few intrepid travelers. The river flows peacefully, while the strange-looking limestone mountains in the background are reminiscent of ancient Chinese paintings. A small wooden bridge crosses the river, and visitors must pay a road charge. Tourism is gradually developing here, so numerous guest houses constructed of concrete and stone have been built. The kings of ancient times are thought to have stopped at this idyllic river location while traveling between Luang Prabang and VietTin. Our journey continues further north. National Road number 13 narrows and winds its way via countless bends through an enchanting mountain world. Higher and higher. All is green, and every possible piece of land is used for agriculture. The morning dew and the heat of the day combine to create the ideal climate for agriculture. The huts that line the road are quite plain and without electricity. This is a realm of mountain tribes. This is the most beautiful section of our journey. But during the rainy season, it can also be quite treacherous. The road may be blocked or even disappear. Often the narrow mountain roads are situated close to the edge, and surprisingly, huts are sometimes to be found in this dangerous location. Finally, we reach Pu Kun. This winding and foggy traffic junction is the last place in which food and petrol are available. We must continue before nightfall. Up until the middle of the 1990s, the Hmong rebels were a frequent threat, but today there is peace between the mountain tribes. Peaceful and diligent people live in this remote area. They must work hard for their daily bread, as there is no modern machinery here. However, they seem to be content, and the children have fun with their colourful balloons. Finally, we reach our destination. Located in the northeast of Laos, Pon Savang is the starting point of a journey to one of the country's most mysterious archaeological discoveries. The capital of this province has relatively modest architecture. Most of it has been built since the end of the Vietnam War. Today, Pon Savang has a population of around 20,000. The remoteness of this relatively new and administrative centre possesses a unique charm. The marketplace is particularly fascinating. The country's newfound success is reflected by well-ordered properties and modern motorbikes. Tourism helps the local economy. A sign belonging to an organization that protects against landmines and unexploded bombs indicates that even now the Vietnam War continues to have tragic consequences. Close to the city is an extraordinary area, the Plains of Jars, a popular destination for those who are fascinated by the past. The hilly savanna landscape of Tong Hai Hin contains one of Laos's most mysterious archaeological treasures. Three of this region's most important archaeological sites were declared to be free of mines in the 1990s and are now open to the public. At first, it looks as though several rocks are towering up into the sky, but they're actually the legendary jars. Within a landscape that has been devastated by the presence of countless hidden landmines, farmers attempt to lead a normal life. White stones flank our path, from which it is best not to wander. Hundreds of these huge stone jars cover an area of 25 hectares, and they're still a mystery. Who were the people that left these impressive reminders of their culture? National Road number 7 winds across the high plateau between paddy fields and forests that contain subtropical pine trees, a paradise for the water buffalo. During the Vietnam War, this idyllic landscape was the setting of many bloody battles between the Pathet Lao Army and the American-Thai military alliance. Fortunately, the hostilities ended many years ago, and today all is peaceful. Most of the year the climate is temperate, and only in winter does it become cold. The local animals enjoy the pasture here. Ban Ta Kok is one of the many villages of the Hmong tribe. The Hmong came to Laos from South China between 1820 and 1900. They were paid by the government of the United States as organized guerrilla fighters, a fact that gained them a bad reputation. Even today, they have not entirely been forgiven for this. This aside, they are worthy of much respect from the Lao people because they're also known for their courage, hard work, good social fibre and success in business. Following the revolution, tens of thousands of Hmong fled to the USA, to Thailand and to France, from where they continue to support their families in Laos. At one time, the mountain regions provided a safe refuge for various ethnic minorities. These mountain people know little of territorial boundaries. Some are nomads, or partially so, and national boundaries just don't exist in their traditional way of life. They live in village communities with a highly developed social system and a council of elders. Our journey north becomes increasingly difficult. Surrounded by beautiful green mountains, the remote and narrow road travels higher and higher. We often pass groups of simple wooden huts beside the dusty road. Directly beyond the huts is a sheer drop. We travel through foggy areas that vanish almost as soon as they have appeared and reveal all of the natural splendor of the surroundings. Next, our journey gradually leads downwards and we approach Luang Prabang province in the river valley of the Mekong. "30 kilometers from Luang Prabang is the magnificent Koang Ji waterfall that is set amid a splendid green forest. Crystal clear water bubbles over limestone rocks. It collects in a number of inviting pools. In the background, the water thunders down across 60-meter-high rocks. A mist hangs suspended in the air, a welcome sight in the heat of the day. Slippery wooden footbridges and steep steps lead to the top. Up here, it's possible to walk in the water and look down at the depths below. From here, one can see the water racing to the bottom, flowing from one step to another, and finally settling down. It's good to walk along the water pools in the shadow of the trees, with picturesque light reflections and the tranquil sound of the water. Thus, it's hardly surprising that the inhabitants of the nearby town use the waterfall as their favorite leisure time destination and come here in droves. Amid this romantic area, on the banks of the Mekong, is a town that is one of Laos's most impressive historic destinations, Luang Prabang. Luang Prabang became the official residence of the monarchy in 1453 and remained so for several centuries. The present palace complex is not quite as old as the original. The palace's construction broke with normal Laotian tradition, as it consisted not of timber, but of stone. For centuries, stone was only used for the construction of religious buildings, such as the Bang Hap Kam Wat May, that is situated at the southwestern end of the palace. The temple once contained Laos's national sanctuary, the Buddha statue of Pa Bang, that is now only used to celebrate the Buddhist New Year festivals. "35 monasteries that accommodate around 700 monks as well as 1,000 novices, and also the city's many splendid temples, highlight the deep religious faith that determines the everyday life of Luang Prabang. In addition to its fascinating temple and monastery complexes, Luang Prabang has other special attractions, as can be experienced by a walk through the lanes of the old town. Since the 19th century, the historic centre of the city has featured numerous beautiful buildings that date back to colonial times when France had a military alliance with Laos. In addition to it being a pilgrimage destination, the city has also played an important political role, and in 1353, the son of King Fa Ngum laid the foundation stone for Laos's first kingdom. However, it is mainly the magnificent Buddhist sanctuaries that have retained their splendor to the present day. From the top of the temple, there is a magnificent view across the region's second largest river, the Nam Khan, that flows into the Mekong just a few hundred meters from this point. In Farang Street are numerous old trading buildings that date back to the 18th and 19th centuries. The Wat San Sanctuary also has a monastery school that is a fine architectural gem that is typical of northern Laos. The Wat San Pagoda, with its splendid gilded relief work, is symbolically guarded by several lion sculptures. The unique religious importance of this ancient royal city is as strong today as it has always been. Colourful parades organised by various ethnic groups are frequently to be seen here during numerous festivals. The inhabitants of Laos are made up of a combination of several mountain tribes. Yet despite their differences, they live together in harmony. Various ethnic tribes proudly demonstrate their centuries-old dances to the sound of traditional music. Whether Hmong, Mien, Mon, Shan, or members of any other ethnic group, they're all united by a love of their own individual culture. The Flaming Tree of Life is an extraordinary glass mosaic that is one of the most beautiful architectural details of the Golden Temple of Wat Giang Tong. The stepped roofs of the pagoda are quite striking. This temple complex was built in 1560 during the rule of King Seta Tirat. Even now, Wat Giang Tong and its many precious sacred works of art can be admired in their original historic splendor. The former king's residence on the banks of the Mekong has managed to retain its architectural, artistic, and religious heritage right up to the present day. At the river, the typical Mekong boats await their passengers. The boats are long and narrow, and thus are able to travel fast. Their owners live at the back of the boat, They travel by day and lie at anchor by night. Our journey upriver begins early in the morning. Our destination, Pak Beng, which we want to reach by sunset. We make several stops along the way. The river valley is cloaked in dense fog. Only the nearby river banks are recognizable. During the dry period, the local people plant their vegetables here. After 2 hours, we reach our first stopover. A huge limestone rock reaches out into the Mekong, at the top of which is an opening, the Tam Ting Cave. Steep steps lead up to the cave from the river's edge. According to legend, this is the home of the guardians of the river, who possess magical powers. The cave contains a large number of Buddhist figures that were brought here from 1560 by Laos kings on their various pilgrimages. On the river, numerous ferry boats wait for passengers. The Tam Ting is only accessible by boat. Soon we continue our boat trip, as the journey to Pak Beng is some distance, and the Mekong can only be negotiated during daylight. At night, it is far too dangerous. The dense fog disappears as the sun becomes stronger. Suddenly, we experience the full splendor of the river. Here, the Mekong is at its most beautiful. The Mekong is the largest river in the south of Asia. It originates on the eastern border of Tibet and is 4,500 kilometers long. Even before the immigration of the Thai Lao, the original primeval inhabitants of Laos once settled here, the Lao Tiong. Today, the 1 million people that belong to this ethnic group form a quarter of the entire population of Laos. Because of their dark skin and ethnic background, for centuries, the ruling elite of Laos treated them as slaves. This village belongs to the Khmu tribe, a subgroup of the Lao Tiong. Our boat continues to travel upstream and past several small villages that are only accessible by river. Roads simply don't exist here. Sharp rocks in the water make the Mekong unnavigable for larger boats. So the river isn't as busy as it once was, and we can enjoy it to the full. The captain skillfully anchors the boat, and we visit a picturesque Hmong village. The village is located high on the riverbank because during the rainy season, the water level of the Mekong is much higher than it is now. The Hmong seldom live here, so our visit is particularly interesting as we want to learn how these people live. When the water level is low, the villagers plant their vegetables directly on the river banks. They also prospect for gold as an extra source of income. The The families consist of many children. They lead a simple but independent life. Visitors are few and far between, so it's always an occasion when new faces appear. The children follow us down to the river to say goodbye. Our journey continues. More and more hazards in the water turn our river journey into an adventure. The river always offers something new. Boats indicate that there are villages hidden within the steep slopes. We can't see them from the river. The sun disappears behind the mountains and it begins to get dark. However, we reach Pak Beng in time, a small, sleepy village that has been here for many centuries. From here on, the Mekong becomes more hazardous. In the morning and evening hours, the small harbour is busy, but in daytime, everything seems to be dormant. Many tourists stay here overnight, so several facilities have developed here for visitors to the area. It's advisable for passengers to reach the small harbour on time, as the boats run to a strict timetable. It's hard to believe, but it's true. Precious wood from the surrounding forest is also loaded onto cargo boats that transport it to VietTin. Pak Beng is the last harbour in the north of Laos. From here, goods are shipped down the Mekong. The lengthy village is a mixture of old houses, restaurants, shops and guest houses. A combination of both traditional and modern architecture. Early in the morning, women from the mountain villages come to the market to sell their goods and then make purchases in the small shops. Now begins the last leg of our journey. We continue north by car, almost as far as the Chinese border, to Muang Sing. We penetrate deeper into the realm of the mountain tribes whose family communities live in small villages and scattered settlements. But first, we encounter the Khmu. The stilt houses and clothing are reminiscent of those in Cambodia, and the food is similar to that of Thai cuisine. Each family has a fireplace in front of a hut where the women and children sit together during the day to exchange gossip while working at their various arts and crafts. Each settlement also has a storage building, meeting huts and spirit houses for the dead. Here, religion is diverse and ranges from Buddhism to animism. A winding road leads through a mountain world in which the jungle is endangered by man's encroachment. We pass several small settlements. This time, we stop at a village of the Lue tribe. The Lue have been here for centuries. The Lue are one of the Thai tribes who, along with the Lao, emigrated to Indochina. Diligent people, always in search of work. Even today, everything is handmade, and reef mats for roof repairs are braided and used immediately. Everything is neat and tidy. Most of the family members spend the day working in the paddy fields that surround the village. Most of the elderly remain at home. They tend to the house and the children and sometimes work at a spinning wheel. Our journey continues through small forests of palm trees. This paradise-like scene makes it easy to forget the poverty that is rife here. The next Lue village is particularly striking. Here the people own modern threshing machines for the harvest, as well as a small tractor. The Lue have much economic and cultural influence on the other mountain tribes. Indeed, their language became the official language for the northwest region of Laos. This village is relatively well off. Farmers proudly follow the tractor that's transporting the fruits of their labor. Now we must continue our journey. It's some distance to Muang Sing, and it's not a good idea to travel in the dark. However, our desire to see as much as we can forces us to stop at the next Lue village. And we ask our leader if we have the time for this. The robust construction of their stilt huts has served as a model to those of other tribes. The Lue's highly developed irrigation system in the terrace-like fields, as well as their mix of religions, was also copied by other tribes. We travel through high green valleys and often pass simple wooden huts at the side of the road. It's only in Udomze, at the junction of two roads, that we see our first stone buildings. We stop at our final Lue village. It looks as though it's literally stuck to the slope. We consider the future of these mountain tribes while watching the diligent farmers at work in their fields in the high valleys. When our driver stops again, we notice that things look different here. We encounter a village of the Lantern tribe. These people live a very solitary life. Because of their preference for a river settlement, they're also known as Creek Lao. Today, only 4,000 members of the tribe live here. The women are a fascinating sight. They wear traditional indigo-colored clothing, have plucked eyebrows, and also wear a silver headdress. Now we must hurry. We must reach our next destination during daylight. But then comes a further temptation. We have one last chance to visit a village of a rare mountain tribe. The Akha, who now live in the Muang Sing region, belong to the family of the Tibeto-Burman that originated on the Tibetan High Plateau. This village community lives from the production of the rice, millet and maize that they grow for their own needs. They're totally self-sufficient. The Akha are polygamous, but strict wedding regulations prevent inbreeding. Daily work is carried out calmly, and 2 ghost gates protect the local people from the evil spirits that are in the jungle. We arrive at our final destination, Muang Sing. Early in the morning, monks march through Laos' northernmost town. They're supplied with rice and pray together with the faithful. The morning market is already open for business. It's a contact point for the local farmers. Many must walk for hours to get here. From the little money that is gained here, various purchases are made, including very cheap rice. For the hungry, a small kitchen beneath a canvas cover opens first thing in the morning. There's meat, fruit and vegetables, fish and chicken, and sometimes venison from the nearby forests. Wat Luang Jiang Chai is the town's oldest and most important monastery. It originated at the end of the 19th century, at the same time as the new town complex. Muang Sing was once the historic capital of the Principality of Jiangken, but further construction ceased following the arrival of colonial troops. Within the colourful interior of the simple monastery hall, colourful ribbons hang down from the ceiling that is decorated with wooden wildlife motifs. The mixture of religions is most obvious here. The town is quite a sight. Its beautiful old timber buildings dominate the sights. Wat Jiang Lei is located on an elevated rock in the northern periphery of the town, and even from a distance its pink-colored archway catches the eye. Two white lions with gilded motifs guard the entrance to a large hall. The walls are adorned with paintings and colourful ribbons hang from the ceiling. Between these ladders to heaven for the spirits of the deceased are Buddha figures, smaller altars, and numerous gilded reliefs. Muang Sing is a wonderful place, and also an ideal starting point for walking tours to the surrounding villages of the region's mountain tribes. The town's third monastery, Wat Nam Kiol Wang, appears to be the most popular, a place of silence and contemplation. There's an old Asian saying, the Vietnamese plant the rice, the Khmer watch it, and the people of Laos listen to it growing. Indeed, while other countries step into a bold new future, Laos bides its time cautiously. up in the south of the town is one of the most worshipped sanctuaries of the region, Tachang Tung, a golden shining stupa that is said to contain the Adam's apple of Buddha himself. The uniqueness and originality of this captivating country has been well preserved. Its extraordinary nature and impressive cultural treasures are something to behold. And the Laotians' traditional calm and easygoing attitude to life are a total joy. And their hospitality is also quite amazing. Laos, one of the most fascinating countries in Southeast Asia, a sleepy paradise that is slowly awakening, a country that astonishes, a land trapped somewhere between age-old traditions and a modern way of life.